I'm Beverley Glock. Welcome to my Christmas gingerbread. It wouldn't be Christmas without gingerbread. When I was little, for one of my birthdays, I think it was probably my 6th birthday, my mum spent 3 days making a gingerbread house, and she swore she would never ever do it again because it took so long. Now, it's one of the traditions in our house that every year we make a gingerbread house, but now with 3 children who are getting older, we end up with 3 gingerbread houses. This year, the challenge is to make R2-D2 out of gingerbread, and we'll YouTube it and let you know how it's going. But to make your basic gingerbread, which you can turn into a house, or gingerbread decorations for the Christmas tree, or gingerbread biscuits for your teacher, or just to eat and share with your friends and family, your basic ingredients are 350 grams of plain flour, 175 grams of soft light brown sugar or light molasses sugar, 100 grams of hard butter straight out the fridge, 1 egg, 4 tablespoons of golden syrup, 2 teaspoons of ginger, and some bicarbonate of soda. Now, the bicarbonate of soda keeps the gingerbread soft. If you don't put this in, your gingerbread will be absolutely rock hard. So if you're making a structure, you need to add about 1/4 teaspoon. If you want soft gingerbread, and beware, the more bicarb you put in, the more it will spread. Then if you like soft gingerbread biscuits, then put a teaspoon, but they will spread a little bit. Now, 2 ways of making this. You can involve a small child, because you need to rub in the butter into the flour, and small children are great for rubbing in. You just tell them they use their tips of their fingers and they want to have dirty fingers and clean palms, or you break your butter up into bits and you pop it into your Magimix food processor. Now, my son made gingerbread a couple of weeks ago, and normally he does it by hand, but this time the Magimix was right next to him, so he tried it out, and his quote was, "This is the easiest machine on the planet to make gingerbread in." So there you go. If you haven't got a small child to rub it in with your fingers, pop it in your Magimix. It's brilliant. We're going to do that, just breaking this up a little bit first. Toss your butter in the flour just to make sure it's coated, and then into your Magimix. So your flour and butter go in there, put the lid on and process it until it turns to look like breadcrumbs. Next we add the sugar. I'm adding 1/4 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda because I want to decorate my biscuits to go on the Christmas tree and I want them to keep the shape. 2 teaspoons of ginger. If you really don't like the flavour of ginger, and I know there's quite a few people out there who don't like gingerbread biscuits that much, then only add in 1 teaspoon of ginger, add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and a pinch of ground cloves, and you'll get more of a cinnamon flavour than the gingerbread flavour. I'm just going to process that very briefly to mix up the sugar. And then add my egg and 4 tablespoons of golden syrup. Now, if it's winter, if you're cooking this in at Christmas time, it's going to be cold. I keep my golden syrup by the Aga. So it just makes it a little bit easier to measure out and pour. It makes it more fluid, otherwise it can be very sticky. Still works. Just try and keep your golden syrup somewhere warm. To roll out your dough, if you use a piece of baking parchment, if you haven't got baking parchment, then use cling film. 2 sheets, one on the bottom, one on the top. Don't need to add any flour to your dough this way, which means you can keep re-rolling and re-rolling it. Whereas if you add flour to stop your rolling pin sticking, then the more you re-roll it, the more floury it gets, the harder it gets, it starts cracking. So roll it out. Also, make your life easy. Turn your dough rather than turn yourself, and then go crosswise. If it's easier to roll it in 2 batches, then just chop your dough in half. Keep half in the fridge, wrapped in cling film, and roll half of it out. So when you're cutting out, again, cut as close to the edge as possible and cut as many shapes out. Don't try and move the biscuits until you've finished cutting them all out. Line your baking tray. This is a non-stick silicone paper, or you can just use some baking parchment. And then when you've got as many shapes as you can out of your sheet, just remove the gingerbread from around the shape. That's fine. We're going to squish this up and re-roll it because we haven't added any extra flour. And very gently put your hand under the shape, tip it up and peel back the parchment, which should stop your biscuit and the gingerbread shape from stretching. Because if you try to kind of pick it up like that, you can end up stretching it out of shape. If you end up messing up and doing something like that, then it's fine. That just gets scrunched up again to go back in the next re-roll. Make sure that your biscuits are spaced apart because they will spread slightly. Now, if you want to make these to hang on the Christmas tree, remember to do holes in the top. It's nothing more infuriating than making loads of gingerbread with the intention of putting them on a Christmas tree and forgetting to do holes in the top. I've been there, done that, bought a t-shirt a number of times. So use a skewer and make a hole. You will have to do this as soon as they come out of the oven while the gingerbread is still soft, because most of the time the hole will close up again a wee bit. So preheat your oven to gas for 180 degrees, a baking oven of an Aga, or if you've got a roasting oven, then they need to go with the shelf on the oven floor. If you're cooking them in a roasting oven of an Aga, you've got to keep a really close eye on them. They'll take about 5 to 6 minutes. In a standard oven or a baking oven of the Aga, it's more like somewhere between 8 to 12 minutes. Just keep checking them. They should be golden brown. Once they're cooked, leave them on the tray for 10 minutes to cool because they will then harden up. Then you can transfer them to a cooling rack to cool fully before you ice them. So once your gingerbread comes out of the oven, the holes will have almost closed up again. So just get your skewer and remake the holes. You've got to do this as soon as they come out, because as soon as they come out they will start cooling and they will start hardening, and once they've hardened, that's it. And did you know that Queen Elizabeth I was credited with inventing gingerbread men? Because she loved gingerbread, and one Christmas she instructed her cooks to make gingerbread characters in the shape of her favourite courtesans and gave them to them at Christmas time as a gift.